Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to a new video. My name is Evelyn Barta, and I hope that everyone is doing well. I hope that you had a nice weekend. I did have a nice weekend. However, I did have a cold these days, so you might hear it on my voice that, yeah, it's a little bit funny. But I'm feeling so good now, so it's all good. All right, so let's get into this. Today's topic is going to be one of those controversial topics that might be sensitive for some people and might press some trigger buttons in the case of many of you. I don't want everyone to agree with my opinion. I'm just expressing my opinion here. And if it doesn't resonate with you, that's absolutely fine. I'm not being punished by anyone who doesn't resonate with my message or doesn't agree, because I don't have anything to lose on this channel. And that's why I love this channel. And that's why I'm trying to be as authentic as possible and honest as possible, because anyway, I don't have anything to lose. So yeah, the only thing that I lose is myself if I'm not being honest and if I don't express myself 100% in an authentic way. So that is a big loss. That would be losing myself, absolutely. All right, so let's get into this. So basically today I wanted to talk about abortion and this new law that was passed in the US by the US Supreme Court, that abortion will be banned in certain states in the USA. And this is one of those topics that is dividing again our society, because it's an absolutely polarizing topic. And there are two camps that are in this discussion, two extremes of this debate. One side is saying that abortion is a murder, it's a criminal act, there's no excuse for that. So that is one way of thinking. The other one is saying that yes, everyone should have the right to do what they want with their body, even though that entails giving up on a life already, an already existing life, a human being and a soul as well. But regardless of that, we should have our right, women, to do whatever we want. So I wanted to discuss this a little bit because this is one of those things that is coming up for review at this time. So if we are looking at this problem and at this debate from a metaphysical perspective, from a higher dimensional perspective, then we can say that this is something that is related to humanity's past, something that we haven't dealt with yet, something that wasn't healed. And there are many traumas that are related to abortions. But there are many traumas as well that are related to orphans, to children that were abandoned. So in order to understand this problem and in order to see the big picture, then we have to understand that we have to rise above this polarizing view of these two different camps. Because the truth is that both of them are extremely dangerous, because both of them are representing a black and white thinking, a very inflexible and polarized thinking. And now people in the US, and not only people in the USA, but of course, like, this is what is in the headlines right now, but this abortion question has been a real debate all around the world and a real question for many generations, right? So now the USA again is finding itself in a situation of Black Lives Matter, where the two camps are being entrenched to a point of hysteria and they are fighting with each other, while both of them are missing the point. So again, like, in order to see the big picture, we have to see both perspectives. And I'm not a mom, I don't have children, I have never had an abortion, thank God. I'm not pro-abortion, don't get me wrong, but I'm not con abortion either. Because the question here is not what is right or what is wrong in this situation. And of course, many of you will say that, what is she talking about? Those of you that are super conservative or super religious, you will say that I'm talking about bullshit here. But anyways, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. The question isn't what's the right and wrong decision in a situation like that. The question is, what is the circumstance of each person? What are the physical circumstances? What are the mental circumstances? What are the social circumstances of a person? That is the question here. And each and every case and each and every circumstance is different. And having a baby for each and every woman means something different, because forcing a woman to go forward with the pregnancy, no matter what, is just as aggressive and is just as destructive as a criminal act. I will say it again, and I know that many of you will not agree with it, but I will say it again. Forcing someone to do something just because they have to do it, otherwise they will go to the jail, is just as aggressive and is just as destructive as a criminal act. And that is everything but pro-life. That is not pro-life. So those of you that are saying that you are pro-life because you are against abortion, you are not seeing the full picture. I'm sorry to say that. I know firsthand people in my immediate environment that did have abortions. And I know what the consequences are on a soul level for that person to go through that negative experience. Trust me, it's very damaging for the soul. But I also know single moms that are fighting every single day with no help, and some of their lives are hell because they don't receive any help, any social help from the society. And both cases are extremely challenging for the soul, trust me. So we cannot just categorize people and to put them in different categories, like different containers, and to say that in this case, it's okay for you to decide to do this, but in that case, no, it's not okay. No, because each circumstance is different. And being pro-life means finding a common ground in this situation, finding a solution. So if we don't want any of the babies to be given up in any form, then we have to provide with a safety container for those people that are by themselves, for those single parents. And I'm not only talking about women here, because I'm talking about men as well. Men can be in the same situation as well, and I know cases in my immediate environment where men are the single parents. So we have to provide with a safety container for these children as a society, as a collective, a safety container and an environment to grow up in. And this is something that we did in the past epochs. We did have that tribal living, and the offspring was absolutely supported by the elders and by the group and by the community. But we have lost that over the years. And right now we are living in a society that is deeply dysfunctional in that sense. We are functioning with the separation consciousness. And in that separation consciousness, there's no safety container for these children. All right, so in order to find the common ground, we have to find a solution for that. And that's what it means to be pro-life, and not forcing a human being to do something just because they have to do it. That's what it means to be pro-life, and not forcing a human being to do something just because they have to do it. It's not about forcing someone to do something that they are not ready for. It's completely inappropriate for certain people to be parents. It's inappropriate for them. They are not ready for that. And it's not pro-life to force a person to become a parent no matter what. And it's not pro-life to force a person to carry on with the pregnancy no matter what, and then to make the decision to either keep their baby and become a parent, or to give up on their baby and to put that baby in an orphanage. That's not pro-life. There are X reasons why a person doesn't want to go through that experience, and that's not your problem. Every single case is subjective to that person. It's subjective to their upbringing, to their background, to their health, to their traumas, to their physical capabilities, mental capabilities, emotional state. And it's also not pro-life when you don't take responsibility at all for your actions and you have sex with lots of people without protection, and then you get pregnant and then you go through loads of abortions. That's also not pro-life. I don't agree with that. Absolutely, we have to take responsibility for things. So both camps are right in a sense, but both of them are extremely polarizing. So as I said, we have to rise above this polarity and this black and white thinking and to find the common ground. But to say purely that abortion is just murder without understanding the person's circumstances, and that doesn't need to be like a health condition necessarily on paper, that can be something else as well. So categorizing this as a murder without understanding a person's circumstances, that's an extremely dangerous and polarizing view. And many of you might say that, yes, but there are pills, yes, but there are birth control, and then condoms as well, and then ways to prevent these things from happening. Yes, I agree with that, but there are also accidents, and that comes down to circumstances as well. So we have to be responsible, absolutely. But when I think about this law being passed in the US, and the US is not the only country that this is happening in, there are many countries, then we have to ask ourselves who benefits from this. Because when the law is forcing you to keep your child, they are in a way also forcing you to use birth control. And who benefits if many people start using birth control, many people that didn't do it before? So that is one side of the whole argument, like who benefits from that. And then also what are the consequences on a societal level when many women will start using birth control. We have to ask ourselves as well, what is this push about this? Because I know that many people are super enthusiastic about this law, that, oh my God, how amazing is that, that finally there's no more murder. But they are missing the point, because this law wasn't passed because they care about those children or those babies that were murdered. They don't care about that. That's not the reason behind this. One of the reasons is the massive divisive reactions, which is causing a civil unrest in the US. And there were many attempts to push for a civil unrest in the past year in the US. I mean, in the past 2 years, we can say. And again, this comes down to this political division, like the right wing and the left wing, and the Democrats, and then the conservatives, and the Christians, and then the no Christians. So this crazy division and this chaotic, confusing debate that goes nowhere, that is just, as I said, is causing civil unrest and is causing a lot of confusion in people's minds about what is right and what is wrong. And then we have these grotesque, horrible political figures, cowards like Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, that is jumping on the occasion and is giving his opinion on Twitter, saying that no one should tell a woman what to do with their body. It is so interesting that he's trying to say that he is respecting someone's right to choose, like a woman's right to choose, but not when it comes to wearing a mask, not when it comes to owning a gun, not when it comes to remaining unvaccinated or attending a protest or donating money to a peaceful protest. No, those cases are irrelevant. We are only talking about abortion here. So it's very hypocrite what is happening now, and that they are jumping on these occasions, like what we saw with Black Lives Matter as well. Like these people jumping on this and creating more and more division in the society, and then fueling that hate between the two camps. And this is really like a push for an outright civil war. And it's another attempt for that. And they knew very well that this is a very sensitive topic that people don't agree upon, that will divide the society. And here's how I see this situation. I see this situation as, in a way, taking away the population's right to choose when it comes to exploring their sexuality. Because if this whole thing comes with these consequences that you will be forced to become a parent, then there will be less and less people. And it's very sad when it comes to the youngest generation. There will be less and less children that will want to explore their sexuality because of that. And if that happens, then that will mess with the natural evolution of a human being. Because if you are giving up on your sexuality and your sexual development and exploring your sexuality, then you are giving up on your organic evolution as well, and your own humanness, your own godliness. It's a spiritual process. Sexuality is a spiritual process. So that was the first thing that came into my mind when I heard about this law. That is part of the transhumanist agenda, again, that degenerate path. And paradoxically, it will lead to less children in the society being born, not to more children. It's a reverse engineering. And expecting a human being, and especially the young generation, to think about becoming parents before they decide to have sex is almost like expecting a child to become financially independent before they decide to buy their first toy that they can play with. It's absurd. It's impossible. You cannot expect a human being to think about becoming a parent when they decide to sleep with someone. Do you think about becoming a parent when you decide to sleep with someone? Or was it your first thought when you first slept with someone? You cannot expect that. And that doesn't mean that you are not responsible. It just means that you want to explore your sexuality with no limits, with no restrictions, with no limitations. So I'm not pro abortion. And I wouldn't go through an abortion unless I had some real health issues and some real motives to do that. But I don't even want to think about that because I'm not pro that thing. But I don't judge people that decide to do that because I see things from multiple perspectives. And you cannot just say that, oh, those are murderers. And this reminds me of a case of a serial killer, I don't know, back in the 60s or 70s, I'm not sure. But there was a case, a guy that kept killing people, and he was specifically targeting doctors and people in the medical field that were involved in abortion. So yeah, basically was solving the problem with the same solution, with the same method that created the problem in the first place. So who is the murderer here? The guy who killed the doctor or the doctor? So, this is a real sensitive question, and I'm not expecting all of you, of course, to agree with me, but I wanted to express my opinion. And I absolutely see this whole thing as a reverse engineering right now. And it's a reverse engineering just as the gun law in the US. Another move of the deep state, another attempt to create a civil war and division and upheavals in the society and to destabilize the society. And just because people like Justin Trudeau, that is a villain right now, is jumping on this and he's saying that women should have the right to choose what they want to do with their body, doesn't mean that he's not part of the same agenda, okay? So doesn't mean that the left is the boogeyman and the globalists are the boogeyman and the right is the savior. Trump is the savior, but the others are the bad guys. No, they are all part of the same agenda. And those that are unable to see this are, I have to say, are part of the controlled opposition. So in order not to be part of the controlled opposition, which they are taking advantage 100% of, and the New Age community is definitely the controlled opposition. So in order for that, we have to rise above this polarity and to stay neutral and not to take sides, because this argument is much more complicated than just trying to simplify it to a simple murder or no murder. No, it's much more complicated than that. And when you integrate more and more of your shadows, you will understand what I'm talking about here. You will understand that we are talking about people here and cases and not categories. You will understand that there's no right or wrong. There are no villains and victims. So that's what integrating the shadows means. To be less judgmental when it comes to other people's shadows and when it comes to other people's decisions. Okay, so we have to find a common ground. But in order for that, we have to operate from the heart. And I will say it again, what I said in my previous videos, that the heart sees the big picture. The heart is capable to rise above duality. The mind only creates duality, only sees duality, only sees polarity. The heart sees the whole. And that is what the Christ consciousness is, like operating from the Christ consciousness. So that is why you cannot just say that the decision of a certain person is right or wrong. No, it's relative. Everything is relative. Everything is subjective. We are living in a subjective reality. So this is what I wanted to say about this in today's video, and use your discernment, take whatever resonates. If it doesn't resonate, that is fine. This is something that I might come back to, but I just wanted to put out this video and to discuss this topic because what I'm seeing now is again a big time division in the society, and we are arguing over things that, and we, of course, we don't understand the perspective of the other person because it's irrelevant to us, but it doesn't mean that it's not real for that person. So if we continue fighting and debating and being preoccupied with fighting with each other and being preoccupied with and busy with proving our point aggressively, then we keep shooting ourselves in the foot. And this is what we are doing over and over again. And this is exactly what they want us to do, instead of uniting our powers and finding a common ground. because you cannot find a common ground when you aggressively want to prove your point. All right, guys, so thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. And if you resonated with this, you can feel free to subscribe to this channel. You can also check out my Patreon. And if you want to support my work, you can do it there. And I also have a reading that I did about the digital currency and specifically about Canada and Ireland, because these two countries were requested from my viewers and Patreon supporters, like where Canada and Ireland are going in terms of the digital currency and economy in 2022. So if you want to watch that video, that reading, the link will be down below, and I will make that post public on my Patreon. So thank you guys for being here again. Thank you for your support, for your donations, for your emails. I love you all, and I cannot wait to see you next time.